In any factory, there's this one simple part that can bring the entire operation to a grinding halt, and that's the conveyor chain. Now, choosing the right one seems easy, right? But today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden costs that can turn a cheap part into an absolute nightmare. Let's dive in.
So let's be real, we've all been there. You see a fantastic deal on a component and you just have to grab it. But what if that deal is actually a trap? What if that cheap part is secretly your most expensive problem? Today, we are going to build the exact framework to make sure you never fall for that trap again. Okay, let's start where most purchasing decisions do, with the price tag. I mean, it's the first number you see, it's the easiest thing to compare, but as we're about to see, it's often a pretty powerful illusion.
So let's ground this with some real-world numbers. A standard, run-of-the-mill carbon steel chain, it can cost you anywhere from, say, 12 to 80 bucks a foot, all depending on the size. This is our baseline. But how long does that simple number actually stay simple? Not long.
Now, what if your line is always wet? Or it's exposed to chemicals? Well, you're going to need stainless steel to fight off that corrosion. And just like that, boom, the price doubles for SS304. Think you need something even tougher, like SS316? Well, that's another 30 to 50% right on top. You can see how fast that simple price tag starts to get, well, complicated.
And this is where it gets kind of wild, because that base price is just the starting line. Need a custom angle for the teeth? Add 20%. A special coating for wear resistance? Tack on another 15. Attachments, food-grade certifications, rush delivery, every single one is another layer of cost. Suddenly, the price you started with feels like a distant memory. The initial price is almost never the final price.
So we've established that the price tag is a moving target, but it gets even more complex when you ask the next big question. Where is this chain actually coming from? Welcome to the global sourcing puzzle.
Here it is. The question every single procurement manager has to wrestle with. And let me tell you, it is not a simple yes or no. The phrase made in China isn't one thing. It's a massive spectrum of quality, of risk, and of opportunity. So let's break it down. So at the very top, you have what we'll call the partner. Look, these are world-class factories. We're talking about the kind of places that make parts for major international brands. You're getting the same, if not better quality as a Western manufacturer, but for 20 to 35% less. The key word here, though, is verifiable. This isn't about trust, it's about proof. Next up, you've got the gamble. This is where most suppliers live. And man, do they offer a tempting 40 to 50% discount. Now, for a non-critical part of your line, maybe that's fine. But you have to be honest with yourself. You are taking on a higher risk of failure. It's a calculated trade-off, for sure. And finally, at the bottom, there's the trap. And listen, if you see a price that's 60% or more below Western costs, that's not a deal. That's a massive red flag. It almost always means you're getting shoddy materials, terrible manufacturing, and zero quality control. This is the definition of a false economy. You save $1 today just to spend 10 on failures and downtime tomorrow. So, with all these options, all these variables, how on earth do you make the right choice? How do you compare a top-tier global partner with a premium domestic supplier? Well, you need a better way to measure. It's time we calculate the real cost. And that tool, that secret weapon, is called total cost of ownership, or TCO. It's a framework that forces you to look past the shiny price tag and consider every single cost over the life of the part. This is where you stop just buying things and start making really smart investments. This slide, this explains everything. It's the TCO iceberg, and it shows you exactly why this is such a game changer. That purchase price we all obsess over, that's just the tip of the iceberg, folks. It's only about 30% of the total cost. The real killer, the massive chunk of ice hiding below the surface, is downtime. At 40%, it is the single biggest cost you are facing, period. All right, let's make this super real with a head-to-head comparison. In this corner, we've got chain A, the so-called cheaper option at $2,000, and in the other corner, chain B, which is 50% more expensive up front at $3,000. But look closer. Chain B is expected to last twice as long with way fewer failures. So which one is actually the smarter buy? Okay, get ready for this because this is wild.
When you factor in the cost of downtime, let's say it's $500 an hour, plus the labor to replace it, the annual total cost of ownership for the cheaper chain A is $7,200. That's over 3 times its purchase price every single year. And what about our premium chain B? Because it's so much more reliable, its annual TCO is just under $1,500. Just think about that for a second. The chain that costs 50% more to buy is actually almost 5 times cheaper to own.
I mean, just look at this chart. The difference is absolutely staggering. It's not even a contest. By investing just a little more upfront in the premium option, you get an 80% lower annual cost. That's not a small saving. That is a massive strategic advantage. This, right here, is the power of TCO.
So, now that we know this, what do we actually do with this information? Well, it means we can finally stop just shopping for the lowest price and start building a truly smarter sourcing strategy. So let's boil this all down into the key takeaways. First, know your application inside and out. Then, treat your supplier like a strategic partner, not just some vendor you're trying to squeeze on price. Always, always invest in verifying the quality yourself. And the golden rule that ties it all together, prioritize total cost of ownership over the purchase price. Every single time. Look, strategy's great, but it's pretty useless without execution. So let's turn these ideas into a concrete plan you can use on your very next purchase. Here it is, a simple 5-step playbook. First, define exactly what you need. Then, shortlist just a few potential suppliers, get detailed quotes, and demand the documentation to back up their claims. Do your homework. And this last one is the most important step of all. Always test a sample before you place a big order. This one step can save you from a catastrophic failure down the line. And that brings us to our final question, and this one is for you. I want you to take this framework back to your own operation. Look at a component you buy all the time and really ask yourself, what is the true TCO of my current strategy? I think the answer might just change the way you do business.